Hey folks, I went shopping online and I found this light. It's the Finnex Planet Plus. I'm going to install it on one of my tanks downstairs, but I wanted to unbox it and sort of compare it to a few other lights, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Hey YouTube, this is Pecktec, and very often I'm shopping for a new Planet tank light. See, I started a lot of Planet tanks and I do them in a lot of different things. And if you remember, not too long ago, I got a 20-gallon quarantine tank for the Fish by Mail video. I'd like to turn that into a Planet tank. I like that format, that kind of rectangular format, and it's real shallow. It makes it a lot easier to light up and plant a tank if it's a little bit more shallow than normal. These taller tanks require much more power in the lights to really penetrate all the way through. You can see how bright it is at the top, and then it just sort of fades at a certain point, and then it just gets lighter and lighter. Anyway, these days, especially if you've got a lot of tanks like I do and you don't want to spend a tremendous amount on electricity, you're going to need some LED. So I decided to pick this up by Finnex. This is one of those that every time I go looking for lights, this one shows up. It's got sort of mixed reviews. The long-term review for this will be later. The short-term review and comparison will be today. We're going to unbox it right now, in fact, and just take a look, okay? Let's take a look at this thing. Power supply, pretty standard power supply, looks like. Some instructions. It comes with these clips to attach to the sides of your tank. We'll see how that works out. They just slide into these grooves right there. Here's a closer look at the light. Pretty small little LED sets on there. It looks really clean. This is a nice kind of aluminum. It's a really small form factor. Yeah, this is the 30-inch light. It's switch covered with sort of a plastic, one of those squishy plastics. It's got the Finnex logo right there. Really, really thin, very small form factor. But what does it look like? Let me put the other foot on, and we'll take it around, compare it to some other lights around the house. And like I was saying, some of these comparisons will be fair and some won't be, because I've got a lot of different lights. What the 20-gallon has on it right now, in fact, is the light that came with the 56-gallon that I have up here. And it's just your standard, I think it's maybe a T5. It's what still comes with that 56-gallon if you see one in stock at PetSmart or something. It's the light that still comes with that. It's kind of old school. In fact, what I'll do is I'm going to compare it to the Kessil. Now the Kessil is one cluster of lights. It's like a real dense cluster of lights and one really big lens on the top. So you can have one pendant do this nice large circle. It makes a really nice light. It grows plants really well, penetrates all the way through, especially on that little 20-something gallon. I think it's like a 27-gallon cube. But how will it work next to this $100 light from Amazon? To know for sure, we'll have to go downstairs. All right, I apologize. I know this is blown out and you can't really tell what I'm holding even, but this has got white and red LEDs on here. It's very bright. That really helps kind of bring out the color in your fish, kind of that mixing of colors of light. And it's something I don't do a lot. I usually, for the grow lights, are just white lights for me, but it'll be interesting to see how this looks. Here we are at the 27-gallon cube. As you can see, it's way overgrown right now. This light definitely grows plants. It is made by Kessil. It makes a fair amount of noise. I don't know if you can hear that fan blowing. It's got a little muffin fan in here. But it does really, really well. It looks really clean, a nice little pendant light. Bad part is, it is expensive. I think this was $200 and something. It was pretty expensive. I bought it a long time ago. And it's done really well. It's been worth the money, but it was really expensive to start with. Now this thing cost about a third of that. Let's compare and see what it would look like. Again, it's sticking out on the sides and stuff, but you could probably, if you had a shorter one of these, you can sort of imagine that that's what it would look like. Definitely has a lot more spread, being that the lights are, of course, across the whole thing. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive in a direct comparison. Not bad. Okay, so this might not be a fair comparison, but what we're going to do, this is the light that came with the 27-gallon cube. It is made by Mainland. It's the double bright LED. As you can see, when it's on, it's got blue. It's hard to tell, but it's got blue lights in the middle, and then these white lights on the end, and it's pretty bright. Now this light is much longer and thus much brighter, so this is not really a fair comparison, but just to see what maybe a shorter one of these might look like. Let's hold it up and see. Pretty bright. There it is in the back corner where I'd probably mount it. Now this one, the Mainland one will reach across both sides, so it's a little bit more even. But that's quite bright, so there's that. So we'll compare this to the other one right there. I thought this might be cool. Let's compare it to the homemade ones. This homemade LED. And just so you can see what work that LED is doing, let me just unplug them. So that's the tank with the front LED off. I'll set this here. Again, not the same length, but... Okay, here's a comparison between the homemade LED and this LED acting as a supplemental light. Let me turn off these lights all together. So turn off all the other lights. Quite a bit darker when it's on its own. So I don't know if a 48-inch would be enough to grow plants, especially like this. Okay, so here we are in my garage. And I've got the 20-gallon setup here. I've got, I guess this is like a T5 or something. This is what came for the 56-gallon Mainland tank that I have upstairs. I've just kind of put it on here because it fit. What you'll see in here, aside from a bunch of endlers that I saved from the pond, are some plants. Now these are leftovers from aquariums that I've taken down. I put a bunch of things in the 55-gallon, but I've also got some kind of things hanging out in here and other places just to kind of keep them alive until I do another planted tank. Now this is the tank that I bought this for, and especially after looking at it on the cube, I'm excited to see just how incredibly bright this is going to be. So I'm going to replace this. So here's the regular, I think it's a T5 fixture. These hands are something I want to use to aquascape the other tank, and I've been moving them around here back on the table just to kind of see how I might want to do that. Whoa! Yeah, I'd say it's quite a bit brighter. I'm excited. Very bright light for this tank. It should grow plants really, really well. Okay, so right out of the box I gotta say that this light is plenty bright enough to meet my needs. So it's going to grow your medium to low light plants. Okay, that's what I have a lot of, and that's what I think that this thing's going to excel at. Now, it will be in a fairly shallow tank, so it'll, we'll see how the spread, see if there's enough spread to really get the plants on the periphery as well as the ones in the middle. So that'll be interesting to see. It's a neat looking light. Very small form factor, kind of really gets it out of the way. I like that. And how it works long term, well, you'll have to subscribe, tune in, and see at another time. Hey folks, thanks for sticking around. This is a video I wanted to kind of get out of the way on my way to doing the 20-gallon planted tank. You guys always like to know about the products I buy. And anytime I go and spend a little bit of money to get something, I'd like to unbox it and tell you about it. That 20-gallon tank will be happening real soon. I'm going to set it up. It might be about mid-December, actually, before I really start getting it together. But I want to talk about a couple of different things with it. I've got some, at least one interview from Catfish Con with a guy that sells matin filters. I'll explain all that in a little while. Also be on the lookout. I'm going to do a Q&A video where you can ask like any kind of question you want. and I'm going to answer it after my aquarium box in November. So what I like to do, if you're new here, I unbox a My Aquarium box every month, and I try to do something a little different on each one, and this one's going to be a Q&A, an Ask Me Anything Q&A. So if you're sick of waiting for me to do a round the world update and you want to know about a particular tank, why don't you ask me on that Q&A? And I'll shoot some video or tell you about it. So that's coming out real soon. And until then, follow your bliss, light up your tank. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Light for a planted tank. Recently I bought a 20-gallon tank to use for quarantine. Okay, so recently I picked up a 20-gallon. Recently I set up a plan. We're gonna unbox it and compare it to some other things in just a second. Here in my garage, you might see a lot of fluval aquariums on the racks and stuff, and a nice new light and a tank just about to be set up. But what I really prize is knowledge.